Hi everyone, welcome to this fortnightly Tools of Frontline staff session. And great to see some new faces here as well. We've got two speakers today. We've got Grace, who's come along from Age UK East London, who's going to talk to us about the older people's reference group. And then we've got Neil Clark, who's come along from the Revenues Service at Hackney. And we're going to be talking about how we can better support residents who've got issues with their council tax. So I'm going to pass over to Grace, and thanks Grace for coming along, and take it away.
Thank you. I was wondering if there was a chance for me to share my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Right, okay, I've done present now. Okay, here we go.
You go to present now, and then I usually just go to entire screen, and then you sort of click the image of the screen that's come up and then hit share, and then just across to the tab where you've got your slides. You go. Yeah.
Okay. Do present. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, we've got it.
Okay, perfect. So I was going to give a quick overview as well of just a bit about Age UK East London and what we do, and then of course a bit about my role within the charity. So just, I can't see that it's changed screen. Has it gone to the second page?
No.
Okay.
No, just moved.
Sorry. Okay. So Age UK East London, it's a local independent charity working with old people, mainly in the boroughs of Hackney, Newham and Tower Hamlets. So first off, we have our information advice service. So that's kind of around social care, maximising income and supporting the home. And we also have Tower Hamlets Connect, which kind of does what it says on the tin, connecting Tower Hamlets residents to information advice on health and social care and like services in the area. Another service we have is advocacy. So that's just supporting residents to know their rights, and if they get a bill through that they don't understand, someone to kind of go through that with them, and maybe like helping to call up an energy company or something along those lines. Befriending, so we have this solely in Tower Hamlets, but this is a tried and tested volunteer activity. The focus at the moment is to get residents out of the home, but we do also do befriending over the phone as well. Digital inclusion, so we offer sort of digital drop-ins. We have one at Caxton Hall in Borough, and we also do like a buddy system where we match a volunteer with a resident as well. Community hubs, so we have a few, but so Linkage Plus is again in Tower Hamlets. It's quite a few different community centres that support older people. We have our supported housing at Century Court, but the one more pertinent to City and Hackney is our new Mary Lloyd Centre, which is newly opened in Dalston. But this is both, it's a bit of a community centre as well as our office, and we're also sharing it with other charities as well. And that's a really exciting sort of new thing for the charity. It's been long awaited, so excited to be getting in there. I mentioned Caxton Hall, that's our biggest kind of community centre, again in Tower Hamlets. We have City Connections, which is in the city, so supporting residents and workers, and a real kind of support for carers, understand their rights, and offering activities as well for a range of people. I once ran a group where we watched The Crown, which was quite exciting. So kind of getting them together and, you know, offering as much as we can in that space. Hospital discharge service is another thing that we offer across our 3 boroughs. So it's like 6 weeks following their discharge, helping them from shopping to making sure the house is kind of safe, and, you know, prevention methods, so they hopefully don't end up back in hospital. So older people's reference group, this is what I lead on. So we've got one in Tower Hamlets, one in Newham, one in City and Hackney. They meet each quarter, and basically they're kind of open meetings where I'll get there'll be information stalls at the start. So I'm sharing information, and I also invite in a couple of speakers to talk to the group. They can hear about maybe a new service that's being delivered, or if they want feedback from older people, then kind of these are the perfect sort of open meetings for that. We can help to influence decision makers, shaping our communities. It's all about having the voices of older people heard, just, you know, in any issue for them that comes up. So it's a lot around cost of living, transport, and health, as well as many others. So specifically in City and Hackney, we used to have our meetings at St John's Church in Dalston, but they'll now be moving to the Mary Lloyd Centre. And the next meeting is on the 12th of June at 2 to 4:30. So I always invite as many people along as possible who want to come and speak to the older people, or just, you know, hear from them. It's either getting feedback from them, or, you know, just hearing about services. So I was going to play this, but I won't. But this is kind of something that we've done within our OPRG. So we've got involved in the Offline and Overlooked campaign with Age UK National. So that was a really interesting thing to be part of. And the older people were able to kind of voice their opinions on everything going online and how it's affecting them. So we do a lot. So as well as the OPRGs, I lead on all of the user involvement. So any sort of collaboration, any sort of co-production or co-design. And recently we set up a working group within the charity, and they helped to shape our new strategy, because we had our CEO start not too long ago. That's now been published, and the older people had a real vital role in shaping it. And these are some of the quotes from the older people who took part in the working group, and it just kind of shows the value they get out of user involvement, which is really positive and really rewarding on both sides. And then just a little bit around other support that Age UK London offers in Havering. So we do a lot around energy. Of course, there's a bit of an energy crisis at the moment. So doing what we can to support people in their homes. We also have a handy person service, again, just in Tower Hamlets. And then just quickly, there's a couple of pictures from a recent sports focus group that we did. So it's just kind of getting older people involved in anything and everything, because, you know, they have so much to say, they have so much lived experience. So it really is just really valuable for them and us. So there's 2 great pictures there. And then a couple of a few other services. I mentioned the energy support we do. So we've partnered with the UK Power Networks. We have our Newham Carers community, as well as our home and help service. So everything we do is free, bar the home and help service, but hopefully in the future that could be something that is delivered for free. And then on this slide, I've just got a bit of the kind of statistics from last year. Or the year before. It's just great to see, what we've done and how we've helped people with, such a small team. So we helped to increase the income of older East Londoners by 3.4 million. And it kind of just shows, the sort of stuff we were doing throughout COVID as well. And then, that's kind of it. I'm trying to stop sharing my screen.
It's stopped sharing now.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks so much, Grace. That was brilliant, and amazing. The last slide on the impact as well. That increase in the income's amazing. Does anyone have any questions for Grace? I've actually got a few, but I'll let people jump in first. Does anyone have any questions for Grace? Just looking in the chat. Krista.
Not a question, but just a big shout, because Grace knows I work with a lot of residents. We cross over a lot of residents, and I hear nothing but good things about Age UK. It's one of the few organisations that consistently people have good feedback over majority over bad. So thumbs up from me for all the services that you do for the older residents that I work with. I feel like organisations don't often get enough praise, so I think Age UK definitely deserve a hats off from us. So thank you. A thank you. That's all.
Oh, no, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Gosh.
You do a lot with the financial, like the benefit checks and
it
stuff
is incredible.
like that. You're definitely like a trusted resource for the older community. So I hear good things, so I've got nothing negative to feedback for you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. No,
Yes.
good to hear.
Thanks, Krista. Lillian, did you want to come in?
Yes, hi, Grace. Thanks for the presentation. Lillian, I work in the income services. Obviously, some of our tenants are elderly. I'd like to know how you receive referrals. Or is it a walk-in?
So currently it's telephone bookings, so calling up the office, or if you want to pass people through me, I can kind of send them on. We do have a bit of a waiting time at the moment, unfortunately, but happy to have a chat with you about kind of what people's needs are and what we can do to support.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Lillian. Does anyone else have any questions for Grace? I was just thinking about the reference group. And I think on that slide you said, I think there was like a quote from someone from Money Hub had come along. Like, are there other, like, I'm just thinking also about the advocacy work. Are there particular barriers to services at the council, or things that come up quite a lot that would be beneficial for someone to come along from that service to the reference group? Are there like key issues that come up a lot with the residents that you think it would be helpful to hear more about?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest kind of topics for us are currently like cost of living, transport, like health, a lot of access and communication issues, with digital exclusion, of course, everything going online. Because what we've done is, so our meetings we're usually 2 hours long, and I've extended them by half an hour to allow for information stalls at the start, so people can come along. If because I also invite, there's usually 2 speakers that kind of, so we have like an advisory group that's made up of the residents that choose what we're going to focus on. So that's kind of also filtered through what OPRG members have said. And then I get 2 speakers in, but I also invite kind of as many people really from the community to come along and share their kind of services, because the in-person meetings are so valuable. It's we get up to about 60 people there, and it's just a real chance for them to gain that information, then spread it on, because of course word of mouth is really such a high thing within the older group. So
yeah, that makes sense. It'd be useful to think about, maybe, because our team have got good connections across the council, so maybe we can make some connections and get some people from the services you're interested in to come along and talk. I think that would be really, valuable. Felicity, did you want to come in? Felicia, you've got your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yes, just a quick question, Grace. Might not be what you do, but because of where the section I work in hate crime. I just wanted to know, do you normally get issues or try and find solutions for antisocial behavior? Because from my experience, a lot of my clients, elderly people, are getting picked on by their neighbors just because they're older. Try and go into their garden, chuck their bins over, cut their trees without their permission, stuff like that. Do you normally deal with stuff like that?
I mean, I don't deal directly with stuff like that, but unfortunately, that is also something I hear a lot about. I do think older people are targeted a lot in that way. And, you know, we work, I mean, I'm building quite a good relationship with the Met. So we had the Safer Transport team along recently talking about, of course, mainly talk about transport, but they were also talking about bank follow-offs. So I think in that area, I'm just trying to build more connections with people in the community that can help. But it is definitely an issue that I'm hearing a lot about.
Would you do something like arbitration? Would you sit in to arbitrate between neighbors, that kind of thing? Do you have the facilities for that?
No.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Thanks, Felicia. Charlie.
Hey, Grace, thank you for that presentation. It was just a quick one. I was chatting to your colleague Philip Adams a while back about an event, maybe in April, around kind of multi-agency bringing people in. Is that happening, or is that been pushed? I don't know if I might have missed something. I'm just trying to get a sense of what was going on.
No, it's okay. So what was the event?
So Philip was talking to my colleagues in housing about housing coming along to an event that Age UK were potentially hosting at the Mary Lloyd in April. I don't know if you know anything about that, or if that's something that can be promoted, or is that not quite ready yet? I don't know.
I don't think that's quite ready yet. I think, the Mary Lloyd Centre took a little while to get kind of opened. But I know that we are going to do an event there. But I mean, that sounds great. So
not April then. Okay, good.
No, I don't. I mean, he's also on holiday. So
okay, cheers.
But no, I'll make sure that he's in touch if you need some information on it.
Thanks, Charlie.
I think just a quick heads up. Choice is moving to Mary Lloyd on the 1st of May. So we are probably going to be neighbours.
Ah, wonderful.
We're moving offices to Mary Lloyd Centre.
Oh, great. Yeah, because we're sharing it with
something out to everybody. Yeah.
Ah, wonderful. Well, I'll see you there.
Okay.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Grace? Jenny.
Yeah, I suppose partly segueing into the next bit of the session, but I was interested in, you mentioned the sort of cost of living pressures impacting on the residents that you've been working with. And I just wondered if you could sort of tell us a bit more about what sorts of things have been the most challenging in trying to support those residents for you and your team. I guess, or anything you can say, is it issues around debt? Is it issues around, universal credit? What do the issues look like? Or are there particular themes that you've noticed? And then, what's been the challenges, I suppose, of helping with those?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd find with my residents, it's, of course, everyone is being affected by the cost of living, but it feels like, across all of East London, it's really quite, very challenging for a lot of them. So I'm trying to focus more on like practical tips for them, and just actually as talking about collaboration and networking and these sort of spaces. I've networked with Susan. I've written down. She came along to the last one. Susan from ELF.
Yes.
Yeah. And just really super helpful. And she's going to be sharing information with me that I will then pass on to my residents in newsletters. I'd say one of the biggest challenges around cost of living, and then in terms of everything, is digital exclusion. If they can't go online, won't go online, which they're right to not to have they shouldn't have to, or they can't because of like a long-term condition or so many other factors, then they just don't seem to, or they just don't get that support. So I think a lot of it is around the communication of kind of cost of living and tips and tricks and everything along those lines. I think, and then also making sure that they know what they're entitled to. So we have a lot of carers or people that, again, might not realise that they're a carer as well. So it's quite multifaceted, I think, in terms of cost of living. But yeah, I think also one of my biggest kind of focuses going forward is just always learning more about what they need. So I'll just keep asking them and finding out what the main reasons are, what they need us to focus on.
Yeah. No, and we really, we're interested from all those on the call, on the insight, from those of you that are working to support residents on what is and isn't helping. So it's always really useful to hear about that, or which particular bits of the system are more challenging than others to kind of get that information from, or ways that we can, there may be ways that between us there might be
I think for me it's making the most use of the open meetings as possible, because then these the people that are attending can then pass that information on. So as many kind of physical handouts as possible. I know I feel bad printing out so much, but I think it's really invaluable to have that information in a physical form rather than just on the internet.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. And then and in terms of debt, do you see sort of residents that need older residents that need support around debt, and in terms of kind of getting through to council services around financial matters? Is that something that's challenging?
Yeah, I mean, I don't work. I'm not 100% sure in terms of like debt, but I'm sure there is, and there are definitely residents that are struggling in that sense. But the most people that come to me are kind of, it's around needing jobs done and just not having, and just trying to save on money, and just energy prices going up, and choosing between heating and food, and those sort of things. But I'm sure there's debt issues as well.
Yeah, thank you, that's helpful. Right, that's all from me. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Jenny. Charlie,
just a quick one, Grace. Have you used Good Gym, and have you had any good experience? Have you used a good experience with them, or because as a housing officer I used to refer to them, but for odd job kind of things, but I don't know how successful it is on a kind of broader scale.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've used them a little bit, but I should probably start using them again. I think there seems to just be a real lack in terms of like those sort of services. But yeah, I think they're all right, but I haven't really used them too much. So
I was just going to, you probably have already connected, Grace, but are you connected with Madeline Maxwell at Homerton? She's leading on a pilot around digital inclusion from a health point of view. So if not, I can link you up. She'd probably be a really good person to speak to. She's come along to one or two of these sessions before. But yeah, her whole remit in her role is digital inclusion, thinking about health. So that might be a useful contact for you.
Yeah, the name rings a bell, but it might just ring a bell. So
yeah. Cool. Anyone else have any questions or comments before we move on to the next section of the meeting? No. Okay. Great. Thanks for the questions and comments, everyone, and thanks, Grace, for coming along. That was really good, and glad you've made some connections at the meeting as well. Cool. Right, I'm going to pass on to Neil, I think, who's Neil and Jenny, who Neil's here from the Revenues Service at Hackney. So we're going to be talking about council tax. So Neil, take it away.
Hi everyone. Apologies in advance. Some of you might notice I've been mucking around with my camera. I've got a bit of a disco going on, so if it gets annoying, you either put up with that or perhaps you won't get to see me. So hopefully it will work for the meeting. So what myself and Jen have been throwing around for a while, and we want to sort of get off the ground this year, is how we can make. Does the access to our service work for you in the voluntary sector? And what can we do to help you help residents more? And would you want to work with us to advocate for those residents more into us, but equally advocate on behalf of the council as well? So it's a bit of a double-edged sort of question we're throwing out. Now, what we don't want to do today is get into any specific case-related ones. Though I know that John hasn't paid his council tax or Neil hasn't paid whatever. But what we'd really like to do is have a bit of a chat today and then put in some further meetings for any interested voluntary sector partners to sort of help us understand when you're seeing residents, if they're talking about debt, and I know there's a wider debt piece across the council, but within my world, it's just sort of council tax that I'm looking at today. But that doesn't mean we don't expand the scope of the conversation, but let's start small and build something before we go crazy and look to solve all of the council's problems. So what we really want to sort of understand is when residents come to you, how does that happen? If you get chatting about debt, what could we do to help you? And what also would then be, if you were advocating for that resident, the best way for you to contact us? Because we're not saying what we've got is wrong, but obviously we want to learn and see if we can make it better, because the more people we can help you to help, the better it is for everyone. And this isn't just about collecting the money, although I won't hide behind that. We need to collect the council tax. It's, as Grace showed in her really good presentation, how many residents, and not just elderly, don't claim what they're entitled to. So it's working across both. One, you will have residents talking to you who won't talk to us because we're the local authority, and that comes with certain stigmas. Probably some right, hopefully lots wrong, but we are where we are with that. So to give you, hi Jenny.
Yeah.
Jump in, Jenny, if I'm going off a tangent, we don't want to go down.
No, it's really helpful. I mean, Neil, to put a bit of context to this as well, we're in just a really challenging position where I think as a council, with the cyber attack and with all of the reasons that many residents have to not trust the council, the people that need the help the most or need the most flexible response often are the ones who aren't getting letters in time or actions being taken against when we don't know the full circumstances. And I think through conversations and through this session, really, isn't it, Neil, as well as all the challenges of collecting the rent arrears in Hackney, there's something. It's really hard to know the difference between those that really need a flexible approach and really need some support around that, and those that might just not be paying because they are not paying lots of other bills and they can pay but they won't pay. So I think we're really trying to do something here a bit different, and as Neil says, kind of recognizing the really important role that frontline staff, especially those in the voluntary sector, can play in helping us with this. And I guess the situation that you may well be coming across is there's a resident who's just getting more and more stressed about their financial situation. They've got stuff going on with their mental health, with their families, with their physical health, all sorts of other things. And so the last thing on their mind is responding to the letters about money, and it all feels a bit much. And what can happen is people can put their head in the sand at that point. And if they haven't got someone who knows the system, they find themselves with an eviction notice or with something that puts them in a much worse position. And I guess we're really trying to understand today what would help you to help residents in those kinds of situations, so that we can have a think about what might be possible at our end within existing structures to the and I guess Neil's working with us, aren't you, quite creatively to think what could we do here that sort of helps the resident, helps the person who's helping the resident, and helps the council to collect, to get people on payment plans moving forward, but not in a way that's going to destabilize them, because we know it affects people's mental health. We know that it's really it affects people in so many different ways, and it's a risk of, it poses a risk of homelessness and all the other things that come with that. So I suppose we're kind of coming to this group with a bit of a, what could we do and what might help. And I'm really happy to see Krista with her hand up, because I know that you're working with loads of people who are probably in situations that they need support
I feel
with.
like Grace and I have probably got a lot to say on this subject of what we could do. So you got to me, there's two main demographics here. So you've got the low income families, maybe with mental health conditions or unemployment, long-term outstanding conditions going on, but you've also got a huge demographic of working poor in Hackney. A lot of people that are working are not on a high enough bracket, and the way that our council tax reduction system works is you either get it or you don't. There's no scope, there's no top up. It's either yes, you get it and you get the £20 a month, or you don't, and you've got to pay the full amount. If you're on, I'm going to take myself, I am a Hackney resident and I'm happy to put my own story out so it makes sense. I was on a lower income probably for the first couple of years after the pandemic, so 2021, that period. So I was getting topped up with UC because my hours had been reduced. First time this had ever happened to me. And I wasn't on a high enough income to be paying the full council tax, but yeah, I was expected to do that. And it did push me into poverty 100%. I spent last year paying off the arrears to council tax. So there's a big demographic of people that work in our borough that are working class citizens. They're not on the highest salaries. They're not on salaries of 45k plus, etc. They might be working part-time. They're getting topped up with other benefits around what the carers, for example. So many people on low incomes, and there's no scope in the council tax reduction. So that's one side of it that I think definitely needs to be looked at, that there should be some sort of scale maybe of earnings against council tax again, kind of something like that, reduction, because I think a lot of debt's getting accrued by people that are trying their very best and are working, but they just can't stay on top. Their salaries are not matching the cost of living and the prices that are real time. Apart from that, the resident side of it is definitely when people are in debt, they feel under pressure. They're scared. One thing with Hackney is you can never get hold of anybody on the phone, but if they want to get hold of you, the amount of communication that comes at you is very intimidating. So you can get a text, an email, a letter, a call, like all in the same day. And that can be quite overwhelming for somebody with long-term health or mental health conditions or other stuff going on in their life, especially if they've got other debts as well. The letters look very intimidating, so they have bright coloured letters on them. So it's a bad letter, like when you see the letter, which again is going to go in if they're not in a place to open it and process it, it's just going to go into an ever-increasing pile. One thing that I hear, I don't know whether Grace and other people that are resident facing, I'm presuming they would as well, is they want somewhere that they can just walk into and see someone again face to face without having, because the communication, getting in touch with people at council tax is very hard. I was with Charles yesterday, and I'm open enough to say I rang council tax myself last week when I got my new bill, just to discuss something, and it took me 38 minutes to get through to anybody. That I was really lucky that day. I got a really good person who really knew their job, but it shouldn't be pot luck when residents speak to client advisors. One thing I definitely hear as well is the level of training is not acceptable enough. You either get people that really do care and do a good job, or it goes completely to the other end of the extreme and you just get absolutely nowhere. A lot of the council tax operatives, when you ring up for residents, they don't even sound like they want to be at work, or they like people. And if you're dealing with people, you need to like speaking to people. I think that is key as well. So I think there's some staff training needs to be done, and some sort of uniformity of how the approach is dealt, kind of thing. It shouldn't be, if you get a good person, that you get everything achieved. Like I came away from that call like, yes, she was brilliant, but the call before was not so brilliant, so just as a resident, call me a mystery shopper. So potluck is not really good. Some kind of face-to-face option for people, a drop-in thing where they can physically come in. I was explaining to Charles yesterday that people miss Kelton House, which used to be the old benefits office at the corner housing benefit office. And people really missed that building because it was somewhere accessible that they could go in and speak to somebody about their benefits, whether it's council tax, any other supporting benefits. We'll go on for a tandem if we talk about benefits, but yeah. So those kind of ideas, that kind of thing, definitely. That's my throw-in from residents that I've got. I don't know, Grace, I'm presuming you probably hear a lot the same as myself, because, yeah. But I work with younger people as well, not just older people, and it's the same things coming through. And we have a lot of people with learning disabilities here, and that needs to be considered as well in the communication methods, I think.
Thanks, Krista. So do you have any questions back, Neil, to that? Because there's a lot there isn't there, that's really useful. I just wondered, if you wanted to take a minute.
It's a lot to unpack, and we are looking at those, Krista, and we've already amended the first reminder notice to make it more informative, less legalistic. There are some of the notices, and this is not me being protective, that have to be more legal because that's what the government set them at, but fully appreciate that we're looking at that. And it'd be good to sort of, if you're open to coming in and talking to us or setting something up, what we're saying here is we want to improve what we've got. We won't be able to do everything that everyone wants. I'd love to have staff available at lots of different sites, but finances being what they are and won't be hard. We know the budgeting in the council is challenging, but what we do want to do, there is face-to-face, but it is at Hackney Service Centre. I appreciate that's one spot in the council, and if you live close, it's ideal. If you don't, it's less ideal. And certainly take on board the comments through the phone, and that's something we can look at, because we've got the first sort of line of phone calls are dealt with separately to sort of further recovery action. So there may be a differential in skill levels. But again, that's something we can pick up, and not something
we can always get out and speak to residents, maybe hold some forums and focus groups with organisations like myself who work with volunteers. Gracie's lot at Age UK, come out and speak to the residents. I'm sure they'll be happy to tell you what they'd like to change.
Yeah, and it might well be. I've been to a couple of ward councillor meetings, and sometimes it's just, and I mean this, I've got my team and we sit there and we kind of know what we're doing. Well, I hope we do. But then there's an assumption that transcends out into the community, and it doesn't, because that's why people don't care what they do. So that's really useful, because then that's something sort of a couple of ward council meetings I've been at. I'm there to be shot down and probably not be the most popular person because we're collecting council tax. It does help break down some of the communication barriers and gives me a chance to explain why we do what we do, and potentially, as you picked up, why the council tax support scheme is as it is. I mean, it's improved for this year. It's now up to 90%, but with a political goal to get to 100%. But I'll leave that to the politicians, and that's not my kettle of fish. But yeah, that's really useful to know. So I didn't spot. I think I saw Penny had her hand up first. So if someone had their hand up before Penny, apologies, but it was Penny's I saw. So yeah, Penny, go on. And with this, please be frank. All I don't want to do is get into someone's personal position, because it's not fair to discuss that. So, but other than that, anything goes. I'm very thick-skinned, that I won't be offended by anything you say. You're on mute, Penny. I can see you moving, but no noise.
And would you mind, those who are asking questions, would you mind introducing where you're from as well, for those who you haven't yet met on the call, because it's quite useful.
Yeah, I just said there's nothing offensive coming my way, Neil, don't worry. I'm Penny from Idiot's Community Kitchen, based in Agerson, Hackney, a food charity. Krista made some really valid points. Mine's only a small suggestion, so it might not be useful, but it just came to my mind when she mentioned the staff training on the calls, and it's just something that I've noticed that quite a lot of companies are starting to do, that I've been doing for a while now. So it might just be a small change that might make a big difference to customer care. When you're speaking to any of the customers that I've got any ongoing health issues, mental health issues, any known issues at all, really. It's just a simple question when you're dealing with anyone with mental health issues. I've noticed that a lot of companies do ask at the start of the call, have you got any issues that we need to be aware of? And they might say mental health, or any issues that we need to be known of, health issues. And then they say, is it okay to store that information so you don't have to repeat that every time you call up? And I've never heard anyone from any councils say that, whether it be my council where I live now or Hackney Council. And I just think it's a simple question like that, because it's so annoying having to repeat that information each time. And if that flagged up as like a red box to each advisor that you got, of the advisor side of it, like as a caution thing, this person's got depression, mental health, like treat with caution type of thing. Everyone should be treated with caution. No one should, because you do get a lot of members of staff with attitude problems who don't want to be a call advisor, but unfortunately you've took the job because of skin. That's just what happens. But they might just then be extra nice for that one day that will stop tipping that person over the edge. Because unfortunately, when you have got mental health issues, which I don't like to say, but I am one of them, but that one conversation that you can have that day can take you over the edge for the rest of that day. And words do stick in people's minds for the weeks after that as well. It's never just sometimes that one day, it can be weeks after where it can words do stick. So it's never just that one conversation. And yeah, I just think Chris has made some valid points, but training is a big thing, because that one conversation over the debt of that someone spiraled into, that can make or break someone wanting to approach the council again about that debt. And if we build them barriers of making it easier for them to contact and wanting to pay, they might then face the rest of the debt they've got in their life to think, actually, that wasn't too bad, let me face the rest of it and go to a debt advisor. So it will make a big difference with the staff training, with the attitudes that people face day in and day out from who they have to speak to and deal with. I don't know if it will make a difference, but why not try?
It will, and something we've committed to, sort of the whole of the council is looking at the mental health of the borough, and it's something I've committed to as part of the revenues team, is that we play a big part in that, from the very eloquent way you put it, Penny. And you're right, and I'll knock the council a bit here, but I'll knock every council in the country here. We can adopt that in council tax, but then when someone rings up the rent team, it's two different systems, so that potentially vulnerable resident is going through the same conversation again, because our system's held on its own, and we could probably, not so we won't look at it, but it then moves into the bigger picture of how do we make it omnipresent across the council, so that person's not in 5 different conversations.
It's a shame you're all working on different systems, and it wouldn't just be one big box that would flag up each time for that one customer, you know.
That stuff, and Tim, that's if we can certainly look at. We are trying to build that picture, but yeah, individual sort of systems do work independently and without hiding behind GDPR. There's certain stuff you can share, but it's something we can take away and look at, Penny, definitely, because I think you're right. That one really good phone call could make someone's day, and ultimately, yeah, take them down a better path than the one they might have been heading down in that relationship with the councils there. So thank you for that. And again, I don't know how we're going to catch this, but what we want to do from the back of this is to have the open conversation now, but then if there's partners who want to get involved and help us sort of look at how we deliver this, either come out to you and meet you, or have people into the town hall, just have a meeting and then go, okay, let's work through some trials to look to improve the service we give in my world. And is that worth looking to bring the rent team in to expand it into a bit more of a council-wide thing? But at the minute, it's just something we're looking at in my world. But thank you very much for the input. It's really useful.
It's just humanising the customer, isn't it, rather than seeing them as a debt. So
exactly. Exactly. Some people are not paying who have the facility to pay, but then for us, it's trying to establish them, as Jenny put, from those who are just struggling day to day, week to week, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have much more to give, but
no, any bits are brilliant. Jenny, well, you haven't seen, there's hands up everywhere, so
Great.
I'm just into the top line, as it were. So I don't know.
Don't worry, and we're capturing all the notes from this, Neil. And as I've put in the chat as well, there is some work ongoing in the council around improving resident experience. So all of this insight will feed in. So we'll share the recording and make sure, and it may well be that there's real interest in coming here to kind of dig into that a little bit more in the course of that work. But yeah, Grace, please go ahead.
Apologies, couldn't find the on mute. No, it was just to kind of reiterate what people have said. I think what everyone's saying is really really pertinent, but it's just around kind of course there is that distrust, and I mean charities and other sort of community groups have that trust. So yeah, it'd be great for you to kind of, or someone from the teams, like come along and meet residents and just, yeah, rather than being seen as this other that you're just people too, as well. So, and then that will kind of help to clear up those kind of communication barriers. And I find that a lot of residents, the distrust is kind of from the council not getting back to them, and just even just like we've heard what you're saying, just some sort of communication is just makes such a big deal, yeah, to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, Vanessa.
Hiya. So it's my second day at Hackney Council. I'm in the Children and Family Services. Just was a quick question for Neil, because I thought I heard Neil say that there is a face-to-face service for council tax. So because the story that Krishna explained is kind of similar to myself. I don't want to go into obviously the background, but I came in today thinking I could speak to the council tax team to kind of talk about my council tax debt, and I was told that it's all online, it's all over the phone, so I can't actually see someone face to face. I just was wondering if that is complete truth, or can I at least book an appointment to see someone and speak about it, because I haven't been getting anywhere over the phone. So
yeah, there's face-to-face at Hackney Service Centre. So Tim is next to you metaphorically on my chessboard of people. So Tim, do you want to come in to that?
Thanks, Neil. I'm Tim Jones. I am a success manager in the customer services department. So what on earth does that mean? I look after our customer services operations for benefits and the front of house, which we're talking about now, which is where we're having some trouble trying to speak to some of our staff. And I look after a number of other things. So I'll just quickly mention a quick point about appointments. So how our operations work with appointments and how we've changed since the lockdown is we heard about Elton House, which is now the wonderful Mare Street Market and a wonderful bar. We've been operational at the HSC now for some 12 years, I believe. And then we changed the configuration of it to accommodate social distancing. And at that point in time as well, we were working on an appointment system because we were one of, say, when we did some benchmarking 4 years ago, we were one of maybe 4 or 5 councils that offered just a walk-up service. So by far the most expensive service delivery. So as we moved through those years of austerity and then moved through our need for continued reduction in cost, council had to continue to look for those wins. So an obvious area is face-to-face conversations with residents. So I know that's a disappointment for a lot of people, but it's just a matter of fact when it comes to we can speak to people, way more people that when we do a digital process with them. We can speak to more people than when we have a telephone conversation with them, and we can speak to far less people when we refer those resources to face-to-face. So that's the order in which we would prefer to speak to a resident, and we would prefer you to engage with us. So the council tax team has a wealth of online forms. We would ask you to engage with that. We would ask then people to engage with a telephone service. And then if at a point in time we cannot help you with those two well-rounded and resource services, at that point we will then book you an appointment at the service centre to be able to see one of our staff there. So that's how it's been working for, say, the last 2 years. Works fairly well. It means we do have incidents where people believe we don't have anybody at the front because sometimes we miscommunicate that message. And sometimes it is the message just isn't heard by someone we're trying to say it to because for whatever reason. So that's kind of what and why we do telephone, digital, front of house. And just a little point about where I heard about some of the experiences that we're hearing with some of our staff on the phone as well. So I'm responsible for lots of staff that are taking phone calls. And in fact, some of those, so in a year, we would have taken 780,000 phone calls. across customer services. So we take way over the odds of any other service that are contacting residents at that point in time. Some of Neil and Jonathan's teams here that are dealing with council tax recovery, that will take a percentage of that, say something like 30,000 calls a year, and then our business rates will take something like 15. So customer services as a whole look after the repairs service, the neighbourhoods type services, so those things, and all of those corporate calls and now council tax calls as well. So where we don't have that single point, what people normally refer to as a CRM, where you might be able to log that everybody's resident interaction, where we might be able to put a condition, a health condition, and might be able to flag that in one place to everybody. Where we can't currently do that, we can currently address some of the concerns that we've been speaking about today, like a suggested lack of empathy, or some situations where people sound like they aren't too bothered about speaking to our residents on the phone. So some of those using positive tones and stuff like that. So that is exactly why we brought those 3 contact centres together, was so we can standardise and improve together the level of service that everybody's being given. So as Neil has said before as well, we'll be taking away some of these comments, working with our management teams, working with our training providers, looking at call recordings, looking at all the feedback from complaints and customer satisfaction, and so on and so forth. And these great case studies from these meetings, where we have valued feedback from people that we trust and are sometimes a little bit less emotional than when a resident puts in some feedback to us. So it's very much easier for us to pull apart what actually was the problem. So I will take away, I've been taking notes as well, so I'll take this away to my team too, and continue to please be honest with the feedback to us. Because although we have thick skin, it means a lot to us. And we want to make sure that we get better, because we're all in the game to support people. And when we don't support people, it does matter to us, and it does mean a lot to us when we get it wrong.
Thanks, Tim. Krista?
Hi, point 4, Tim. I was listening to that, and I understand you have your policies and processes that you have to go through, and it's all like about effectiveness and efficiency, etc. But I noticed that you said face-to-face was your very last resort to see people. And I've just to throw a devil's advocate into this, I've been putting together some survey data on for a couple of the neighbourhoods this afternoon. And one of the questions has been focusing around digital inclusion, exclusion. And out of all the surveys in all the different neighbourhoods, and we're talking about a total of probably about 260 respondents, so a fair number across the borough, different pockets, different demographics, half still want to do things face-to-face. Over 50%. So you have people, you've got 50% of people that are like self-sufficient, yeah, I'm fine, or maybe with a little bit of support, someone's supporting me, I'm good. But there is a very big contingency of people in this borough, for whatever the reason, whether it's age, physical or mental health ability, whether it's language barriers, cultural differences, whatever it might be, they want to do things face-to-face. And I feel like that definitely needs to be given higher priority than our last option is. And you made that really sound, to me as a resident and a professional in the borough, I felt a bit like, oh, okay, so if they can't do all of that, well, they'll give me an appointment because they have to. And residents shouldn't really feel like that. And no personal, this is not personal to you, but just how it feels as a resident who's lived here for 30 years and brought up her children in this borough, worked here all my life. So I'm just throwing that in there. And the demographics clearly state that half the borough still wants to do things face-to-face. So I feel like a little bit more consideration needs to be given than just, oh, well, if we can't do all that, then we'll do it. You know, like oh, if we have to, like it's an afterthought to see them face-to-face. I feel like more consideration definitely needs to be given to it, and the numbers match what we're saying, kind of thing.
That's so it's really helpful, Krista, and I think we you know that isn't a surprise, I guess, to those of us who kind of know how difficult this is. And I suppose that's what is so helpful about having Tim and Neil here thinking together about how, you know, your relationships, you know, your face-to-face relationships, how important they are to the residents that you're working with, and that, you know, that face-to-face meeting with the council officer might be a one-off. You know, a lot of you are working more long-term with people, so we're trying to work out here, and we're going to take all this away, is what could we try as a bit of a pilot that helps you to help residents, so that they are getting that face-to-face with you, but you're getting what you need from us as a council quicker and easier, so that you're not having to go through all of those hurdles. And obviously there are loads of things that will be difficult for us to do, but there's a willingness here to try something that helps. So we really want to give something a shot on a small scale and show that it works. And then we'd love to get in touch with you about it, Krista, because I know you work all over the borough. There's so much there. I think in terms of what we're hoping to get out of today's meeting is a few people that want to work with us on getting this right. So if any expressions of interest, we'll get in touch with you and we'll bring a smaller group together, because obviously just come to this session for the information. So we also, it's not but it's great to get a wider group of views on it. And I just want to go to Joyce.
Jenny, before you
sure,
just to be brutally honest as well, this will come down to money as well. So we all know the council's fundings are what they are, and the most expensive way is to see residents face to face. So I don't want to sort of give a false expectation. Let's be perfectly frank about the council's budget and what we've got to do to make sure we're still here to support everyone. But on a slightly positive, we are looking to reintroduce some of the tools that enable those residents who can self-serve and are self-sufficient, IT literate, whatever you want to put it, which will hopefully enable us to free up time to be more accommodating for those residents who can't function in that world or don't want to for whatever reason. So, I just want to be honest and frank for everyone that we want to take all your ideas on, but some of them will come down to cost. And that is wrong, but that's the world we live in, unfortunately. So, but let's aim for the stars and see if we can get somewhere close. Sorry, Jen, I just want to be frank and honest.
That's helpful. Thanks. I'm going to go to Joycelyn, because I know that she's had a hand up for quite a while now. And then I'm going to come back to Juna and then Josie and Tim. Sorry.
Yeah, I keep coming up and down. Oh. Yes. Christy, thank you very much. I think you have done a lot of work for me already. So my name is Joycelyn from Shepherd Food. We're based in Chatworth Road. What my experience with the clients that we have, our service users are people with low income, unemployed, language barriers, aging, and some of them are doesn't have IT skills. So when it comes to council tax, people really struggle concerning due to cost of living actually. So I understand Tim mentioned that face-to-face is the last solution when it comes to helping them out, which is okay. Normally what I do, like last year, what I did was 3 people or 4. What I did was to help them to set up payment plan. And, they were so frustrated that they can't get anybody to talk to. If you make a call, like our end, we can be on a phone for 15, 20 minutes, nobody answer. Whereas we have other people to us to support. So it makes it difficult for us to help those that we need to support. So at the end, what I did was I asked them to help me out. Then whatever we came across, we develop a plan in order to get them set up with a payment plan. So I was helping them and following it up to make sure that payment plan will be done. So if it happened like face-to-face is the last solution, before the person will get help, they have been already frustrated, and it's not good for their mental well-being because they need help and then they don't have. And as Christine said, the letter alone, you can see them holding the letter and crying for just the mere letter break them down. The letter is very, very, I don't know how they write it, but it sounds good to claiming money from them. So with their mental well-being, the letter is no good because they will come with the letter and already crying before they even open their mouth. So which I think is not really helping people with their mental well-being. And even if they try to get hold of staff, their response to the client is not good. It's like, what we know is this. Beside that, we can't do nothing. So we know that A, B, C. So anything that you say to them, it doesn't make sense to them anymore. They don't want to compromise. They don't want to be, be reassured to the clients that are looking for help from them. This is what we know, this is what we have to do, whether you have it or not, this is what they have to be done. So they just put that barrier that there should no compromising of anything you can do, or whatever you want to say will make sense. What they know have to do is what we have to do. So I think that one too, if they can look into it, that would be nice, that the customer service have to be a little bit, their communications to be really accommodating to the people that are looking for help with them. That would be very helpful. What else do I put down here? Face-to-face should be looked into. If they should make that options. So if the person doesn't have much time that they want to use phone or any other means, that is fine. But I believe that face-to-face should not be the last solution, because the person will reach to the face-to-face, the person has already break down, and it's not good for their mental well-being. So if anything that Neil and team can look into it, that would be very helpful.
So Joycelyn, can I ask you, can we follow up with you, the same as with Krista, with Neil, to as part of this smaller group, looking at how, because the situation you just described is just the sort of thing we're trying to work on together, isn't it, Neil and Tim? So it would be brilliant to work with you on some, on as part of a pilot, and share back with this group how we get on, and see, how we can then expand it out. But that sounds just the sort of situation. So we'd really love to work with you on it, Joycelyn, and spend some time thinking about what would be most helpful. Because I suppose one of the ideas we've had is about, rather than you having to get a face-to-face appointment, is you having, that some way of you flagging to Neil's team that you've got a resident who needs a particularly careful approach. Yeah. And that being some way, and I suppose what we're trying to understand today was what would make that possible. Would filling out a form to ask that, sending an email, the phone call, kind of thing. So we're interested in some of that too, and obviously we'll get into some of the details of that in a smaller group. But I guess that's what some of the options we're looking into, whether might be possible within the limitations of what we can all do.
Yeah, if they can design a form for inquiries, which I think Tim made mention of it, that there's a form that we can look at. I don't know if that form is for inquiries or for appeal or whatever. I don't know the form. If we have something like that, that will support we as an organization to help the residents, that would be very helpful, because even the phone call is not helping us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not helping us, because at the end of the day, we spend all the time with the phone. At the end of the day, we can help the person. We have to turn the person down in frustration. We have to let the person go, because the other people have to assist as well. So if we have a form or anything in place that we as an organization can use to support the residents, which I believe it will be very helpful.
Great. And other ideas, do pop them in the chat as well. I know that we've got thank you so much, Joycelyn. I'm going to come to Juna now, who's been waiting patiently. Thanks, Juna.
Hi, sorry, I've just got my camera off. I look a bit of a state, but just wanted to say the points I wanted to cover, actually, Krista has already covered. I'm an advisor for City and Hackney Carers Centre, and on a positive note, I just want to say a thank you to Tim Jones, actually, because we work in partnership with them. We don't have an office as such yet, and we use your desk space. So I come in on a Friday, and my colleague would come on a Monday. And we do kind of see the first-hand experience of what the challenges, the staff members experience from customers. So it's not an easy job to be in. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, to be honest with you, because we don't have an office as such. Hopefully, we should be moving to Mary Lloyd soon. But we work with unpaid carers, and going back to council tax, the same kind of questions, not being able to speak to somebody directly, people not getting the full discount. So if they're on universal credit, they're a carer, but for some reason they're only receiving 25%, and they just don't understand the breakdown. So they're in a bit of a stressful situation, so we're having to call up, and not all the time can we get through to someone. So it'd be really good if we could, as an organization, kind of have a direct, like a named person who we can contact or email and kind of present their cases. So it's fast tracked in a way, or that's something that we were just thinking about. And then not being able to speak to, I was just looking through my notes, so no direct communication. I just wanted to also mention about Money Hub. I mean, we've had situations where resident carers have found it difficult to complete the application because they're having to do a benefit check. So they've opted not to go ahead, and then they're in arrears because they've got they can't pay their council tax. So that's one of the challenges. But there is a positive case where I helped this carer to complete the discretionary housing payment, the application. I did the whole benefit check and everything, and her council tax was waived from 2019 to 2024 March. So that's a positive outcome. So it's not always like, so I just wanted to point that out. And you all do an excellent job. And I think in any agency, whether it's council, whether it's a charity, people want face-to-face. We try our level best to do as much as possible remotely. Like, for example, if somebody's not IT savvy, like we've got our work phone, so we'll say, can you just send your letters via WhatsApp? So it's not a private number, it's just a work mobile number. So they'll WhatsApp, so that in a way, whatever they're used to, or whatever they can use or they're comfortable with, we try and work in a way to kind of accommodate them. And yeah, so there's ways where we can, if they're not IT savvy, we try alternative kind of routes.
And can I ask, Juna, can we invite you to this this section as well? I know that carers.
Yeah, definitely. Why not?
Yeah.
June, can I just say, you very eloquently sort of gone into the territory as well. Yes, I held my hand up from the start. This is about me looking to help you to engage residents. So ultimately, they were in a position to pay their council tax. But equally, I'm concerned that there's residents who won't talk to us who are due benefits because they're worried about their council tax, and it's trying to marry both up. And without wishing to burn down the planet, and picking from what Grace said earlier on terms of flyers, it might be we work with you to create some flyers both for you as advocates for those residents, so that what the art of the possible is and the best way for them to get it.
Yeah.
And I'm quite one doesn't want to fill out a benefit checker because that's everything that's wrong with our society. That making it difficult for someone to get benefits. But anyway, my rant over.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And even today, I carried out a benefit check, and it just come up saying, you're eligible to apply for council tax reduction. Like she wasn't aware. So there's so many ways to. It's just a matter of, kind of finding ways of assisting. And sorry.
Oh, that's really helpful. I know, Joy, you had your hand up and were waiting patiently for a while as well. Did you want to come in, or I know you've taken your hand down, so maybe someone spoke to what you we can come back to you, Joy. Do put your hand up again if you want to prioritize you there. Okay, over to you, Tim.
Oh, hello. I thought maybe I missed out a rather important element of our service delivery at the HSC, which is anyone can come down at any time and get any help on a computer to do a digital process with us. We have that open at all times. So the focus is on supporting those people that can do a bit, so we can support them with the wider resource, so that we can focus on those other people that need more support on that on one-to-one. And as Neil said before, it comes down to a financing thing. So if you have people that have a digital need and they just want some support to complete a council tax revision form, or a single person discount form, or a move in move out form for council tax, or an overpayment arrangement form. There's tons of these processes online which we help people with every day, submitting evidence to a number of different services to help people do it. The idea that we do there is we try to coach those people that attend those just walk-ups every day to do something or interact with that online form, so they can go away and have confidence to do that for themselves if they can later down the line. And we have mounted tablets there, so people, but a really common thing in the benefits service is for people to constantly update details and submit evidence. And so we deliberately use tablets which are fixed to desks there, because it mimics what somebody is likely to do at home and use their mobile device or a tablet device, because 80% of online interactions are happening on a handheld device. So we use something so someone gets used to it. And sometimes it is remarkable when you see someone that's not particularly digitally confident, just to handle in their right hand a mouse and the keyboard on their left hand, and to see how awkward that might be, but they grab their tablet and are scrolling through at speed. So we do think about some of that customer journey. And so, yeah, just, I'm rambling now, but people can come to the HSC and get digital support from Monday through Friday every day. We just close at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays, so people can get some. We have a group training in customer services. Cool. So please make sure that we know that is happening every day, and you can. Thanks.
Brilliant. We might highlight that again in the Tools for Frontline Staff newsletter, just so that, because if people aren't aware, that's really important, isn't it? Josie, lovely to see you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
It's really interesting to listen to all of this, because there are so many different points of view, and I really get it from a customer point of view, because obviously I'm a customer to the other services where, you know, when I want to ring up about my gas, electricity, you can't get to talk to anyone. But the difference between a company like gas and electricity is they're minimizing their customer services because they want to maximize profit. Whereas in local authority, we don't choose to minimize contact with us. It all comes down to funding, because we've only got so much money. And I do think it's really good to look at it to see, you know, different ways of making it a little bit more streamlined. Like Tim said, we really want to reach the most vulnerable people. So that's why there's a big emphasis on getting those that can to do it online. But obviously we don't want those that can't to go fall by the wayside. But also there is a sensibility that the customer facing side of it, as you should call it, it has to be the bulk of it is with homelessness applications and things like that, where people really have to see someone face to face and communicate their situation with them. So that's really important as well. I mean, in an ideal world, I've been around knocking around for years, and when I first came into local government, take for example housing benefits, you'd have your caseload, you'd go down an interview on the counter, and you would answer phones, and you do it on a rota, so you would do a bit of everything. And for me, that is better, because then people keep that contact with the people they're helping. Now, if you assess benefits, if you in benefits, someone assesses, someone answers the phone, and then if they come in on the counter, they're seen by someone, but they're not seen by people that deal with their claims. But you know, sadly, these things have happened because there has been a reason for it, and it does all come down to cost. I had a suggestion, but it's gone out of my head now because I've been waiting. I should have written it down.
Oh, sorry, Daisy. If you think of it, either put your hand up or put it in the chat. But that was really, it was a helpful.
When I know Tim well, and when he says a last resort is them coming in, he doesn't mean that in a negative way. He means like he'd like to do it all the time, I'm sure. And as a last resort, it's because we've tried to put people, you know, make the people that but encourage people that can do it themselves to do it. And then not a last resort, but when necessary, we would like to see people to help them. But, you know,
we're all working in challenging contexts, aren't
we?
Yeah,
I can't express how hard it is working. And if I was then, say for example, then had to go down to the counter to deal with people, which I'd love to do. I love talking to people. I love helping people, but then that would mean that I couldn't do the work I need to help people. So it's that sort of balance as well you have to think of.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Josie. Lillian.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much. First of all, I have to say thank you so much. I see team all the time. Like I said, I work from income team. We do our duties at the front every 2 weeks. I'm always there every 2 weeks on a Tuesday. And I'm always seeing team. I wonder whether he sits down sometimes, running around, making sure that everyone is getting the service is flowing. We do get customers or residents that come to us for rent accounts. These are tenants for Hackney Council. Sometimes they end up asking about council tax. What I do, I refer them back to the reception. They've never come back to me to mourn that they haven't been seen. We have all these computers there for people that need assistance, and those staff members are always there to help the residents that come in. Our team, which is the income team and the council tax, we are teams that are not very popular to people. So residents will always have that either defense or feel bad because we're asking for money that is owed to the council. So that feeling is bound to be there. But I understand, like our letters, that there will always be a writing, we're here to help. So for the small, I don't think that, this is my own opinion, I don't think that it's going to help much if we change the format of the letter just for a few residents. But if there is a line in there saying that we're here to help, they can come in. I've seen people coming in without appointments. So I'm surprised that the residents are not coming in to get the help, because every time they come in, they do get that help. I send them over, and the receptionists are very competent of whatever they're doing. I know that I can go to council tax, I go to housing benefit pretty fast, and if it's something it needs to be picked up, they will pick it up and deal with it. So I'm actually saying thank you, because that has been my experience. So thank you very much.
We've just got a couple of minutes left, and I was going to spend a few minutes rounding up. But maybe if you can I'm happy to hear very quickly from all three of those of you who put your hand up. But it obviously, it's clearly a mixed picture in terms of the council front door and our phone lines. And I think there's a lot of work to be done, and lots of reasons why it's difficult. Certainly all of this feedback will be fed in. And it's good to hear, some of the positive feedback, as well as a lot of the really important insight about how it is for residents. But did you want to come back in, Joycelyn, Krista and Ian, briefly before we round up?
Yeah, I just want to touch on a quick one. I believe residents come to we as a local organization in a sense that they want to know what to do and how they can go about it. Sometimes they think, okay, council will be the last solution, they want to go. So they feel confidence to come to us in order to hear and find out what is the best way to go about it. So I think even coming to us, give them some reassurance that there's hope for the situation can be solved. So I think that's what encourage the residents to depend on our service most of the time. So yeah, if there can be a way that we can get information to support them, that would be very helpful. So that's what I want to say.
Well, we are definitely going to be, be getting in touch to work on that with you, Joycelyn. And I think the way you've articulated that is just exactly what the framing of that, of this piece of work's about, really. So thank you for that. Ian?
Yeah, thanks very much. I just wanted to touch on a point that Lillian made very early on, and then Neil touched on as well. I'm from the income services team, and yes, collecting rent or collecting money, you're always going to be the villain. Full stop. We understand that. We work in partnership with you agencies so that there's a balance. So we keep that going. The key thing for me, which I think Neil raised, was how if we are aware of difficult circumstances with residents, how can we contact yourselves? And there are 32 people here. I only probably know a handful of people here, a couple of the clerks, the same family as me. But how would we liaise with you guys if we know of a difficult situation with tenants, can we refer, which is what Lillian raised. And I think the lady from National Parents Forum, sorry, your name's gone. When you have a challenging situation, how can you contact us?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we look at across the piece, so that there is some, as I think you said the word, the advocation side. You advocate for them, and we can work that way.
Yeah.
How can we make that work coming out of the discussion? That's what I'll be keen.
I think that is a really wonderful place to leave it. I think you've just hit the nail on the head, haven't you? And Neil, do you want to come back on that? And
spot on, and that's absolutely spot on, Ian. And it's the advocacy bit, because what I want to come out of this, and I'll be open with it, is I don't want to put more work onto the voluntary sector. Where you've got information, where you're advocating for that resident, I want to get to a place where there's trust both ways. So Jocelyn, sorry, I'm going to pick on you, Jocelyn, because you're lovely and you're in there. If Jocelyn rings up and says, Jenny Zenow's seen me, she's got some challenging financial times, she can pay X per month. If I know that you're doing the best for the council and the best for the resident, let's go straight to the answer, not sort of. So I think we all want the best for the residents, and Ian's hit the nail on the head. It's how do we all work together, not to give my responsibility to you, but where you are able to help and you're seeing residents who don't want to talk to us, how we can help you best help them. And yeah, that's exactly the whole point. Is that we're going to save half an hour if you'd have come in first.
No, this has been really fantastic. Thank you everyone for your contributions. I'm going to hand over to John. John will be working with Neil and Tim and the group who we have. So Krista, Joycelyn, Juna and Penny, can we also get in touch with you maybe as a starting point to have a small group to start working with? Yeah, I think John will be in touch on that with Neil to get the ball rolling. But this has all been so helpful, and all of these contributions will definitely be shaping the work in a number of ways. John Davis, over to you.
Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, I'll just thank everyone again for coming along. This has been a really good session, and exactly the sort of open collaborative discussion we like having in these meetings. And hoping that those of you who are interested in working with us on this can come up with a realistic but genuinely helpful solution. So just thanks everyone for being on the call. Are we wrapping up there, Jenny?
Yeah, do you want to, what have we got in 2 weeks' time? So,
okay, yeah.
Spread the word. Oh, and it looks like Charlie's got an update.
Yeah. So the next session again in 2 weeks, it's a bit of an education focus, because we've got someone from the head of school admissions at Hackney is coming along to explain that process and the support available with that. We've got someone coming along to talk about the Send local offer as well. So if you've got questions or contacts who you think might be interested in that sort of stuff, then do come along and feel free to email me anyone you want me to add.
Yes. If you want to present, or if you have a particular request on who you want us to draw in to present, we are thinking of having a specific session on support for people seeking sanctuary in Hackney, and with those with no recourse to public funds. So we're looking to develop that, I think, and some work around some mental health as well, I think. But any ideas about any kind of areas that are on your wish list, let us know. And Neil will, of course, be coming back, and we'll continue the conversation about the council tax debt and other ways of working with the sector. Charlie.
I just wanted to thank you for everyone. I know Ivana from Hackney Health Watch came along today because she might also have a chance to promote something that they're doing at Health Watch. I invited her along with that promise. So Ivana, do you want to talk about the work you're doing with fathers? Or do you want to come back to another session? It's up to you. You can always say it at the next one if you'd like.
Hi everyone, however you want. I can just say a few words, if that's okay. And then if anyone has any questions, I'm also going to drop a link for our website and my email address, and anyone can come back to me. So I work for Health Watch Hackney, and we've just been commissioned by Hackney Council to start a new project called Father Friendly Borough. And it's a project that it's looking to enhance perinatal mental health, specifically in fathers, and the parent-infant relationship that they have as well. And we are currently in a second phase of the project. So basically, we just created a questionnaire with some of our experts by experience, so fathers from the community. And we are now taking this questionnaire out into the public to get to do basically a health needs assessment and find out what needs of the local fathers in the communities are, so that we can then co-produce a set of recommendations for NHS services and all other sectors as well. So we are looking for any type of connections that you have, or that you know anyone that works on some project specifically with fathers, that we could maybe exchange some information and talk more about it. But if anyone is interested in hearing more about the project as well, like I said, I will leave all my info now down at the bottom, so you're more than welcome to just drop me an email or anything, and we can talk about it more.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Do come back after the work and let us know what sort of support's out there when you've done that work, and we'll obviously put you in touch with people.
I just said we'll merge our reps and my volunteers and Ivana's dad. We'll put them together for this pilot work that you're going to approach us on, because you've got
fantastic. Sounds brilliant. Great. Thank you all so much. I'm going to close the meeting now. Have a great rest of your week and weekend, and thanks so much for all your time today. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye, everyone. Thank you.